Tens of thousands protested in London, Glasgow, and Belfast this weekend, with demands including higher minimum wages and caps on exorbitant executive salaries. Public sector workers, including teachers, nurses, civil servants, and hospital workers, were joined by rail, postal, and private sector workers in the anti-austerity demonstrations. Close to 100,000 people participated in the London actions, with Trade Union Congress General Secretary Francis O'Grady saying that the protests will send a strong message to the British government.
Justicia para los que ya no están con nosotros.
Thousands of protesters marched in Acapulco on Friday to demand the safe return of 43 students who are still missing in southern Mexico. At least 35,000 people took to the streets, calling for the resignation of Guerrero State Governor Ángel Aguirre over his handling of the case. Over two-thirds of hotel reservations in the resort city were canceled this weekend. On September 26th, police officers in the town of Iguala shot at buses carrying the students, killing 6 and wounding another 25, with another 43 students still missing.
This may look like your typical university classroom. However, it is actually an intensive course on social justice and human rights, weaving together different methodologies.
Desde la parte de la educación popular, desde la educación para la paz.
From popular education to peace education to a focus on human rights, from feminisms, all of this allows us to have a spectrum and base so as to organize ourselves and to act.
For 12 years, the Mexico City-based Fray Victoria Human Rights Center has been training youth to learn and defend their rights so as to apply this training outside the center's walls.
Realizarán alguna actividad que a lo mejor detone.
They will participate in an activity that perhaps will set off something that is occurring in the community, so that the community itself is the one that becomes the subject of its own rights, as a subject of changing the reality in which they live.
Many here say this knowledge is as pertinent as ever, calling the current socio-political climate in the country volatile and repressive.
El panorama que estamos viendo está, bueno, no sé cómo decirlo sin decir groserías, está bastante difícil.
The panorama in which we live, well, I don't know how to say it without cursing, but it is very difficult. We see multiple human rights violations in certain regions, states, and, well, the country as a whole. It is big.
In recent months, Mexican authorities have come under a firestorm of criticism for extrajudicial murders, incarceration of activists, and the criminalization of protests. Clayton Khan, Telesur, Mexico City.
The government of Honduras granted permission for the construction of a touristic mega-project in the municipality of Tela in the Atlantic coast, on land that has been home to the Garifuna community for over 200 years.
Nos están despojando de nuestra tierra para quedarse con ellos y dejarnos afuera y no sabemos dónde nos van a.
They are stripping us of our land to keep it for themselves, and we don't know where they're going to relocate us. This is our land. Our ancestors inherited to us. My great-great-grandmother lived here. My mother lived here, and we're all from here.
The military's first attempt to evict the Garifuna people was in the community of Barra Vieja. The project is planned to be built on almost all the coastal area.
Al principio estábamos con miedo. Miedo porque estaban con la bayoneta, estaban con las pistolas, armas de alto calibre, como que van a la guerra.
At the beginning we were scared because they were armed with rifles and guns, as if they were going to war. But they are just trying to rob 150 families of their land. So we said no way, we are staying here. We resisted being thrown out of our homes, and now they say they have formally accused us.
Because of the resistance of the Garifuna and the constant visits of human rights observers, private lawyers working for the government have falsely accused them of illegally occupying the lands.
They need all these beaches, all these touristic corridors along the Atlantic coast by Colón, are beachlands inhabited by the country's Garifunas. They want it all.
The authorities have allegedly given away land that doesn't belong to them, land that has belonged to the Garifunas for over 217 years. They are resisting, defending their heritage, while also trying to avoid being thrown in jail. Gerardo Torres, Telesur, Central America.
Finally, on Saturday, the United States-led coalition launched new airstrikes against alleged Islamic State group positions along the Turkish-Syrian border town of Kobane. Approximately 120,000 civilians remain in and around the besieged town, which the Islamic State has been looking to seize for weeks. Leftist Kurdish fighters aligned with the Kurdish Workers' Party, who have resisted attacks from the Islamic State in Turkey, said on Friday that the Islamic State had been repelled from the town.
Today in Gaza, the situation is calm and peaceful. No violations has been reported. However, winter has entered the Gaza Strip. Today was raining heavily, and despite the fact that some people consider this rain as a blessing, on the other hand, we have thousands of Palestinian families that are suffering and will be suffering during this winter because these families lost their homes during the Israeli protective edge operation on Gaza. Thousands of these families protested today in the Gaza Strip, demanding the international community, charities, organizations, even the Palestinian officials and the new Palestinian unity government to offer them a better housing unit, especially that most of them are staying in cloth tents beside the ruins of their damaged homes. However, on the other side, in the West Bank, clashes are continuing for the 5th day in a row in some towns and cities in the West Bank between the Palestinian youth and the Israeli forces, especially after the Israeli forces stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque, one of Islam's holiest sites, on the past days, and also after the Israeli forces killed a 13-year-old Palestinian child.
Facts that have marked the course of history. Productions designed in the English language and made for the English-speaking world. This is Documentary. Watch it on telesur.net/English. Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there.